Ladies and gentlemen, week 2, we are here. Listen, before I get into today, I just want to take a second. Yesterday, we all know by now, something absolutely just heartbreaking and disgusting happened with the shooting of Charlie Kirk, and I'm gutted, shaken to my core about it, sickened, and I've been praying, and I pray for his family, and I cannot wait for Sunday morning to get into church to take this whole prayer to a whole new level. And listen, fantasy football it's quite broad. It reaches a lot of people with all different paths in life. I'm going to say this right now. If for whatever reason you're one of those people that doesn't share the same disgust and sadness that I do for what happened in that tragedy, and you somehow find joy or anything like that, or celebration, a way to celebrate this, I kindly ask you to stay the hell away from my show. This place isn't for you. That's all I'm going to say. Now, again, prayers out to Charlie Kirk's family. Awful. I just pray that God just puts rapid healing on that family, his friends, his loved ones, everyone. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And I just felt compelled. I couldn't start with something until I just got that out of me, because it's just really sickened me, and it's been a hard day. And I'm not even into politics, but I love this country. I love where I live. I'm proud to be here, it's just awful. And I didn't feel right without mentioning that first. Now, let's dive in. Here's what we're gonna do. Week 2, guys. I'm gonna go through the games. I'm gonna tell you who I'm fired up about, who you should be fired up about. And listen, when I get into the starts of the week, you're like, who's this guy? Week 1, he's telling me with all the studs and all the people and the guys that you drafted, and he's telling me to start freaking Demario Douglas and Jaden Higgins. Listen, I will say this though, 2 of my starts of the week, Michael Penix and Travis Etienne, they smashed. Those guys smashed, so you got to get me there. But listen, I'm going to try to do it a little differently this week, get you a little bit more excited, people. So I'm going to go through the names, go through the games real quick, and just tell you who I am all in on. And I'm going to give you some trade advice too. Why not? Right now, okay? I'm going to segue right into tonight's game, Thursday night game, which, what a freaking game to start the week off with. You got Washington at Green Bay, both teams 1-0. Point spread, Green Bay -3.5. Kind of like Washington to cover there. I do. Like Washington to cover there, and I'm not just saying that because I need Washington to beat up on the Packers tonight for my Lions. This is a fantasy show, but I'm just saying, I think, listen, 48.5 point over under, and Green Bay's gonna win by 3.5. I like Washington to cover there. I think Green Bay's gonna win, but I think it could be maybe a field goal. So 3.5. I would take Washington to cover, Green Bay to win. Listen, before you do anything, you still have about an hour and a half. While you have the chance, go buy low on Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. This is probably going to be the cheapest you can get him. Get him before the game. Throw out a couple of low ball offers. See what you can do. Not even low ball. Don't even low ball. Just get him. You want him. This guy has rapidly moved up the depth chart. A week ago, he was running back 4. They're already saying all the teammates love him. He was a big reason why Brian Robinson got kicked out of that team, surprisingly. And now they're saying, with Eckler a little shaky or a little banged up, and he's older now, they're saying it's just a matter of time, and it could start as early as tonight, where JCM, who goes by the name of Bill, takes over as the lead back on a really high-powered offense. Love him. He went 10 for 82 and a touchdown last week in his rookie debut. This is a 7th-round pick. You guys, you got to go get him. Love both QBs in this game. Love me some Josh Jacobs in this game. Obviously, I love Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in this game. And Deebo Samuel. Probably, he's one of my starts of the week. Now, I'm going to have starts of the week multiple at positions because, I didn't have enough time to sit and just narrow it down to one. And why just do one? You know, it's just me. I'll do a few. You got more than one of these players. So anyways, we'll jump into the next game. Chicago at Detroit. Two teams that need a bounce back, but specifically Detroit, because that was just, come on. I'm not going to dive into that, but it has to get better. At home, your home opener, over-under is 47 and Detroit -6. Here's the deal. I think Detroit's going to win. I think they win by a field goal. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Detroit to get rolling. But I do like some bounce back opportunities in this game for Detroit. I think Goff has a decent game. I think Montgomery is a lock smash to get a touchdown in this game. Always love Gibbs. You're never, ever, ever going to bench Jahmyr Gibbs. And guys, real quick too, I don't want to just assume that everybody knows this. When I say a start of the week, I never mean like start this guy over a complete stud. Quarterback wise, I like both QBs, or for example, a spoiler alert, my start of the week at QB, no doubt about it, is Justin Fields. Because I'm saying that, I would never start Justin Fields over Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. Those 5 guys you never bench them. You always want to play them. So I just didn't want to assume that people thought that, oh, he's saying start of the week. No, you never, ever, ever bench those guys. And there are players like that in other positions too. You know who they are. The elite elites. But when I say a start of the week, I'm just referring to, hey, I think these guys are going to smash based on where they're going, value, all that. So that's all. I just wanted to be clear with that moving forward. So yeah, Detroit -6. I think Detroit wins by a field goal. I'd start Goff. I'd start Gibbs. Obviously, I'd start Montgomery. I think, like I said, I think he's a lock for a touchdown. And on Chicago's side, I'm the only guy that I'm in on for Chicago in this game is DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore has a pretty big game against us. So anyways, Baltimore at home to Cleveland. Baltimore -11.5. 11.5. Now look, is Cleveland's offense Buffalo's? No. But Baltimore's offense just gave up 41 points. And they just played late Sunday night. So, well, no, they got the Sunday game, so just erase that last bit. But this is where I need an editor. I'm trying to get my brother to do it, but I haven't heard from him. I don't know what's going on. But the over-under is 45. Baltimore -11.5. Baltimore's probably going to cover that. I would think so. Interesting little tidbit with Cleveland. This ongoing saga that they've had all off season with their second-round running back, Quinshon Judkins. He had his first practice of the entire offseason. He practiced for the first time today, Thursday. I'm not sure if he's going to suit up on Sunday, but even if he does, against Baltimore, at Baltimore in their home opener, I still like Dylan Sampson. Whether Judkins gets on the field or not, you can't expect him to have a huge role right off the bat. I loved Sampson, looked great last week. Dude's got juice. He's quick. He's shifty. Great. He was one of the best pass catching running backs in this class. He showcased that in his debut last week. And Cleveland, if they do fall behind, which they're heavy underdogs, 11.5, that's by far the biggest difference on the slate. Sampson's going to be on the field, catching. Flacco's going to be pitching to him. I think you can start Sampson if you have a deeper. I mean, it's week 2. Hopefully, think about it. You took Sampson super late, or you might have even picked him off waivers. So hopefully, you have somebody ahead of him that you can start. But if you're in a pinch or if you're in a deep league, you could do worse than Dylan Sampson. I still like him. I don't like Cleveland to put up a ton of points. I think Baltimore's defense is going to be pretty tough, but I like Sampson and I like Cedric Tillman again. Now, I don't expect them to go crazy. I don't expect Tillman to go crazy, but if I'm picking a pass catcher, and I'm not even forcing myself, there's some teams I don't even pick a pass catcher or a certain position. I don't have to. I'm not going to do it just to do it, but I think Tillman will be the guy moving forward. He has great rapport with Joe Flacco. He showed it a little bit against Cincinnati, albeit Cincinnati's a horrible defense, but it's positive. And in the few games that he played last season before he got hurt, he was a stud. And I like him a lot more than Jerry Jeudy moving forward. Big body receiver. He's quick. He catches everything thrown to him. I like him. So you could play Tillman. You could play Sampson on Cleveland's side of the ball. The only two guys on Baltimore that I'm really excited about is Lamar and Derrick Henry. I don't think this is a Zay Flowers game. Some people might be back in on the Mark Andrews thing. He's had a lot of success against Cleveland in the past, but he looked toast against Buffalo. Again, they put up 40 points and he had 1 target, 1 catch. I think that the Andrews days, I hope you have a different option. Let's just put it that way. Moving to the next game. So Baltimore minus 11.5. I think they cover. Over under 45. I'll go with the under because I don't see Cleveland putting up any points, really. Not many. So a couple of field goals maybe. So while I think Baltimore could blow them out, I'm going to take the under on that one. New York Giants at Dallas. Okay. Dallas minus 5.5. And the over-under is 44.5. I don't even need to look at what I wrote. I think it's definitely going to be the under. Again, I'm out on the Giants defense, and I want to touch on that real quick. If some of you guys are like, who the hell is this guy saying Neighbors, this and that? Listen, ask yourselves, look, do I think Neighbors sucks as a QB? No, he's one of the most talented wide receivers in football. But the problem is, I don't see the Giants, who a month ago only were favored to win 1 game all season, and that was against the New Orleans Saints. It's changed a little bit because the defense has picked up. They have an elite defense. But my problem with Neighbors, okay, he's the only offensive weapon on that team. I mean, I'm in 19 leagues. Tracy's been dropped in some redrafts. Slayton, come on. I told you, Wan'Dale Robinson is a decent PPR guy. He's going to be on the field, and they're going to be in a lot of no-huddle offenses. They got to pitch it out quick to somebody. Opposite Neighbors. But the problem with Neighbors is this. If you're the only player, elite player, offensive target on a team, obviously other defenses know that. But my problem with Neighbors is he's a prime candidate halfway through the season or a little bit later in the season, when not only do I think he's going to pick up injuries just from being overused, and he will be overused because his head coach and GM are both on borrowed time, and they couldn't be more on the hot seat. They're not going to sit back and go, yeah, no, let's just punt this season and wait for next season. No, dude, this is the organization that let Saquon Barkley go to Philly, who won a Super Bowl his first year, offensive MVP. I don't even know how. Listen, I digress. But what I'm saying is, they don't have the luxury. Dable and the GM, Joe, I can't remember his name, Buffalo guy, Joe something. They don't have the luxury to sit there and go, you know what, Neighbors, don't go to him. He's getting over target, or he's, pulling up with a leg tightness. They need him. And that sucks for Neighbors. But eventually, it becomes a future face of the franchise decision, and he is a prime candidate. If he has any injuries that he picks up, later on, and they have nothing to play for, why wouldn't they shut him down? If they have nothing to play for, and that's what freaks me out with Neighbors. That's why I'm out on him. It's not because of the talent, but I don't see this offense scoring much, and you had to take him in the first round. A lot of things with fantasy come back down to basics. Fantasy is offense. I want players on good offenses. I want chances at touchdowns and points. And Neighbors just freaks me out. So the positive with that is this. He could have a decent game against Dallas. He really could. But if you're in a redraft league, which everybody is competing to win a championship in, I would trade as high as I possibly can after this game if he comes out clean, and unscathed. Take advantage of that. And I'm going to touch on quite a few of those guys that I think have. It's funny because this week there are a lot of players that I'm completely out on or season long, but I think have a chance to really go off this week, and I think it's an opportunity to sell high. Now, having said all that, I want to be clear about something. It's like the quote from the one and only Bruce Lee: "Stay water, my friends." We're in week 2, okay? I'm not a know-it-all by any stretch of the imagination. My trepidations going into the season, my fears, or I'm out on this guy. Guys, you got to stay water. Things change. Garrett Wilson, listen, Justin Fields was the most accurate QB last week, in week 1, on an expected average on the target and all that. It's all that statistical crap. But he was the number 1 QB when basically in terms of expected accuracy, which blows my mind. Well, what does that do for Garrett Wilson? That's huge. New York Jets, I was out on them. They're going to be competing, which I'm going to jump into. Hopefully it's the next game on the slate because I can't wait to talk about that game. But listen, things change. Now, if you're competitive, Wilson, Fields, pound the table. We need another guy to take some of the load off of Wilson. They could be great this season. So going into this season, I'm out on Wilson. But after week 1, and let's see, and I think Wilson has a great game this week too. Now, I'm not going to still, just because I made a call in the summer, stick with that. No, man, you got to stay water. You got to adapt. So I'll be adapting. Don't worry. But with Neighbors, I don't see that changing. So I would use it as an opportunity. If he does well in this game against Dallas, I would use it as an opportunity to sell high, because everybody is obsessed with the name, Neighbors, Neighbors, Neighbors. But look at that's emotion. Look at the logistics of this situation, okay? So, and in my last video, I watched it again, and I realized that I said that the Houston Texans have by far the worst offensive line in football, but I also mentioned that the Giants possibly have the worst offensive line in football. Both of those teams have horrible offensive lines. So I just want to clear that up. This is on one take. There's no edit in, so I reread that or rewatched that, and I just wanted to apologize for that and clear things up. Anyways, okay. So pieces I actually like in the Giants and Dallas game. Obviously Lamb. I think Pickens, who I wrote down as one of my starts of the week, I think he could get going in this game. I like Dak still. I think Dak, Lamb, Pickens. Javonte. Let me talk to you about Javonte real quick. Javonte, clear out now, running back 1, right? Miles Sanders was getting touches last week, and he fumbled. Javonte is the goal line back, but he's also somebody, it just depends on how you feel. I would sell high. Now, I say sell high. I wouldn't just sell to sell because you're like, oh, I just want to take advantage. Sell high. Running back 1 on a team that's going to score a lot, that's going to get in the red zone. Lamb and Pickens are going to cause a lot of offensive pass interference. You could see a lot of Williams punching him in on the goal line, just like we saw last week. Okay? So hopefully, now the Giants have a good defense, but hopefully you can capitalize. If it was me, they got Jaden Blue, who looks like their rookie, who looks like they're going to make inactive again this week. But then moving forward, I don't know. I don't know how much I trust Javonte. Let's watch against a really good defense against the Giants. That's back-to-back good defenses, though. Philly's no slouch, and he did really well against them. But just monitor Javonte. He could be a sell high. Get one more week out of him, and then try to see if there's an underwhelming running back that happened to struggle 2 weeks in a row that has a great opportunity to crush it. I mean, guys, we're only in week 2. It's a long season. But just he's somebody that I might sell high on if he crushes it against the Giants. So Pickens, one of my starts of the week. I think he has a nice game, bounces back, but I also think Lamb and Dak, do well and Javonte gets in the end zone. It was Dallas minus 5.5, over under 44.5. I would take the under because I don't see the Giants scoring much, and I'll take Dallas to cover and win by a touchdown. Okay, next game. Now this, as of Thursday night, the last time I checked, this is the highest over-under on the slate, 49 points. This is Jacksonville at Cincinnati. Okay. We all know, and I talked about it before, Cincinnati. Brutal week one. Brutal a lot of times the first month, right? And then they dig themselves in the hole, and then they look great, and they're climbing back like last season, and they just miss out on the playoffs or whatever. This might change. They shouldn't have beat Cleveland, even though they have all that time. They played terribly. They were awful, but they won. Now they get to come home for their home opener, Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, I don't think is good. If you go back and watch the tape, and I know that was a weird game, Jacksonville at Carolina, because they had like that 2-hour delay. But even if you watch his tape and his throws before the game started, he was freaking shaky. And he, again, when he came back, even though they blew him out, it was all the run game and the defense. So you're sitting here with a high over-under, and here's the weird thing, okay? Not only, I think Cincinnati are going to win, they are favored by 3.5. I would take the over on that because I think that it's a huge bounce back game for Burrow, obviously Chase, Higgins, and Chase Brown. I think they're all going to smash. But I also think on the other side of the ball, because Cincinnati's defense is terrible, I'm going to run it back and say Travis Etienne is my start of the week for the second time in a row. The running back room, which was murky all summer, even up to the day before their first game last Saturday, where it was co-starters with him and Tank Bigsby, who is now going to be going and returning kicks for freaking Philly, who, talk about my dynasty friends out there, what a disaster his value did in that trade, going to Philly for a 5th and a 6th round. He is worth nothing now. Nothing. I mean, man, if you were lucky enough to capitalize and trade him away, that guy's dynasty value just plummeted. But he's gone. So Etienne, it's his backfield against a shaky defense. Sampson, who was a rookie last week for Cleveland, he looked great, pass catching, everything. You get Etienne, Etienne's going to smash. But Lawrence, now here's the weird thing too. Not only do I not like Brian Thomas Jr., and again, guys, I'm going to stay water, but I'm so out on him. He had one catch last week for like 8 yards. And I don't think, even though it was the over-under, Vegas has it where they think BTJ is about to bounce back big time. I don't really know, man. I think the running game is going to be big. I think you could get a really nice streaming option if you need a tight end is Brenton Strange. But here's what I think, and they kind of said it earlier in the week. Travis Hunter, okay, the two-way unicorn, unbelievable, one of the best prospects we've ever seen. He played a majority of offensive snaps and a little bit of defensive snaps in that last week. They played Carolina. They've already came out and said that Travis Hunter is going to play a lot more on defense this week. Why wouldn't he? Jacksonville, you're 1-0, okay? Go. That's how if I'm the coach, if Travis Hunter was on the Lions, I would hope this is what Dan Campbell did. You play him in matchups that you think you can pump the brakes on defense and throw some points and grab the win. Throw Hunter out there, aka Carolina game. But now you're going up against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Why not? It makes all the sense in the world to throw Hunter and try to shadow one of those guys. Obviously, I think Hunter's their best corner already, and he's barely even played. But how exciting is that going to be if they decide to go and throw Hunter on freaking Jamar Chase in this game, right? But that sucks for fantasy because even though in the NFL, these guys don't care about our teams, but that makes so much more sense for him to go and play defense and mark really good offense, if they want to stay competitive. So pump the brakes on Hunter this week. I love him in those types of games, but I'm going to make the call here. I'm out on Hunter for this week. So it frees up Brian Thomas Jr., right? We have yet to see Lawrence connect with him. And I know you guys aren't benching him. You took him with your first. And that's the problem. And I really want to tell you guys, once you get into a couple of weeks, you got to forget. You have the Men in Black thing. You got to have amnesia. Don't hold on and let it carry so much weight for where you drafted a guy. Leave that in the past. Because just like I'm adjusting, and players that I'm completely out, now I'm like, oh, I kind of like him. You have to do the same. You have to look at the situation. We all take L's, okay? It is what it is. You just adjust and move forward. So don't ever feel like, oh, I took him in the first round, I'm locked into this guy. Nonsense. You don't need to do that. You play the matchups, okay? I'm assuming because you took him in the first, you probably don't have a better option to play than Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to name some more guys. Who knows? Maybe you're in a tight one and you don't need this huge upside, and instead you're in a PPR league and you just need steady points to stay competitive. You might hear another guy on this list that you go, you know what? I'm going to take one more week off with BTJ, even though he's my first pick, and this might make more sense in the matchup. Could it backfire? And could Brian Thomas Jr. in the highest over under on the slate, could it pay off? Sure. I'm telling you right now, I don't see it happening, and I'm going to take the under because I think Cincy, I think Cincy are gonna blow them out. I kind of do. I just kind of have that feeling. So in that game though, yeah, like I said, where are we at? ETN, start of the week. I think he's going to eat. And then all those Bengals that I said bounce back. Okay, next game. The Rams at Tennessee. Here's the thing with Tennessee. They have a very underrated defense. Okay? So I look at the box score and it says Rams -5.5 in Tennessee. I'm taking Tennessee to cover that. Stafford, those boys in Tennessee at home in their home opener, Stafford, it might be a rough. Go ask Jared Goff from last season when we played Tennessee. If you watch that quarterback show on Netflix, he even says it. He's like, they're so underrated. These guys are tough. Bo Nix sucked last week. Do you think that a lot of that had to do with the pressure that Tennessee was putting on? I see them doing the same against Stafford, who is duct taped together right now. Okay? Still, I would never bench Puka Nacua. I'm not doing it. Davante Adams, he didn't have that big of a first week. I'd have to have a pretty nice piece to play instead of him, just because if Stafford just stays in shotgun and does his thing, you're gonna feel sick if this is an Adams game, right? And then Kyren Williams locked in. He's a must start, absolutely. On the other side of the ball, the only guy. Well, here's a good streaming one. I like Tennessee's defense a little bit. Think about it. If they put pressure on Stafford, and I'm not calling out for any injury, this and that, but like I said, Stafford is ginger right now. If something were to happen, his back tweaks, and this pass rush is coming at him, and they get to him, and it's the Garoppolo show, you're going to love that you played. And I know Garoppolo is probably considered the best backup QB, but he hasn't played in a while, all right? But I like Tennessee's defense. I like them to cover the 5.5. The over-under is 41.5. I'm definitely hitting the under because I think it's going to be a real low-scoring game. And the only offensive weapon that I have any interest in this week is Tony Pollard. I thought Tony Pollard, against the best defense in football, I thought he looked really good last week. His stat line didn't really show it, But if you watch the tape on him, Pollard's nice, especially while Tyjae Spears is out. I like Pollard. I like him in this game. I like him in PPR. And another one, guys, I might even wait till after this week. I would buy low on Calvin Ridley. Cam Ward's just getting going. Cam Ward's starting his hopefully long, awesome career against two really tough defenses, Denver and then the Rams with that pass rush. Things will get better for Cam Ward moving forward. He's actually in Dynasty. He's a buy low after this week because if it goes rough for him again, his value, I think he ended up with -2 points in fantasy last week. Anyways, I think Calvin Ridley, their schedule opens up. And Ridley had, 90% of snaps, something crazy, 80, 90% of snaps last week. He had 8 targets. He caught 4 of them, but he'll be used more. He's there by far. They're clearing out now wide receiver 1. A lot of people are in on this rookie Alec Ayamanor. He's somebody to monitor. I'm not going to go crazy about him, but keep an eye on it. So, yeah, I'd take Tennessee to cover the 5.5, and I'd go with the under of 41.5. Next game, Seattle at Pittsburgh. Now, this is what I mean when I talk about staying water. DK Metcalf, guy that I'm not in on. It's a revenge game. It's at home. Pittsburgh just came off a huge win and against the Jets. Great game. Rodgers balled out. It's at home to Seattle. You don't think DK and Aaron Rodgers are going to have a little, locker room talk and be like, hey, man, pepper me today. I want to stick it to my old team. There's always that narrative, right? Rodgers has the tendency, he spread it out last week, but this could be a game where Rodgers likes to just do the old Devontae Adams thing and just lock in on DK. I think DK is definitely a start of the week this week. I think you could start him with a lot of confidence, and then I would sell high. I'd sell high on him. I do. I do think that, but I think Rodgers you can play because he's going to benefit obviously from that with DK this week. And the only other thing I'm going to say on the Pittsburgh side is if Caleb Johnson was dropped to waivers, pick him up. That running game, they didn't use him. They used him for 1 carry last week. That running game with Arthur Smith as the OC who just wants to run. Caleb Johnson will be a big part of this team in the second half of this season. You mark my words. If he's on waivers, find a way to stash him, okay? And then on Seattle's side, it could be a rough day for Sam Darnold, but you cannot bench Jackson Smith and Jigba. You'd have to have a really, really good. I mean, if you play in an 8-team league, okay, I can see it. You probably, where it's loaded with studs, I can see that. But I can't take JSN off the field. He's a PPR machine. And what's nice about JSN too, and I know it's kind of like Bush League sounded, but he's great for garbage time. When it gets down to and they just kick it out, he's a great garbage time PPR guy and rack up some points that way. But stick with JSN. I like him. Only other piece that's interesting, for lack of better words, for the Seattle side, like the running game, Breece Hall, who I'll talk about in a little bit. Breece Hall and Braylon Allen are a little bit similar to Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, right? Except I think Breece Hall is better than Walker, and I think Charbonnet is better than Allen. So whatever. But you saw how good Breece Hall was, his style against Pittsburgh last week. Could this be a Kenneth Walker game? Again, another guy I'm completely out on. If Kenneth Walker goes off in this game, I'd sell high on him. If they get into the goal line much, remember, it's Zach Charbonnet be the one that's punching it in. The only other so the running backs, but the only other interesting piece in this game, if you need to stream a tight end, again, it's only week 2, but tight ends drop like flies, right? You could do worse than AJ Barner for Seattle. See, he's somebody, if you need a streamer, go for it. But Pittsburgh -3, over under 40. Give me the under and give me Pittsburgh to win by a field goal. So I'd take Pittsburgh -3. Okay, now the next game. This is the one I've been waiting to talk about. Guys, it's Buffalo at the Jets. Okay, now listen. I think so. Here's the stat line, or the over under. Buffalo -6.5, over under 46.5. The Jets, I think, are not only going to cover, I think they win this game and it goes over. For as good as Buffalo was in that game last week, was out of this world, their defense sucks. They gave up 40. I know it's Lamar Jackson, but I didn't like the moves that they did with their defense, and I didn't like it last season. They didn't do enough, right? Their only piece on defense that I like, that I think is phenomenal, is Ed Oliver, who right now, at this moment, is walking around in a motorized scooter. He completely destroyed his ankle last week in the game. If he's out, dude, I'm telling you, it's gonna be something. So you have that. You have the fact that, and then another one. If you want to hit pause, or if you just want to leave this podcast, go and pick up Ray Davis if he's on waivers, because James Cook has a hamstring injury. He missed practice on Wednesday. He was a full participant today, but if his hamstring goes, and again, that could be a result when these guys hold out in the offseason and they come in late, he was holding out, the hamstring goes, man. So I would definitely pick up Ray Davis, because he is locked in. You throw him in your lineup if Cook were to miss any time. And he's just a good stash to have, especially if you have Cook. He's an amazing handcuff. We saw it in limited action last year when Cook missed time. Ray Davis was an absolute stud. So obviously, Justin Fields, my start of the week. Lamar, rushing quarterback. Look what they did last week. Justin Fields is going to be awesome against Buffalo. As long as Josh Allen's on the field, heck, he could have the whole team injured. I could be out there with Josh Allen. It's still a competitive game. Josh Allen, if he's on the field, it's a competitive game. I loved what I saw out of the Jets last week, and they're home again. Divisional matchup. It's going to be a tough one. They're going to be up for it. I think Field is going to smash. He's going to use his legs. No Ed Oliver to rush against him. They have nothing else. Fields is going to eat. I love Breece Hall in this game. He's a start of the week at running back. I love Garrett Wilson. He's a start of the week. And I love Keon Coleman on the other side. Okay? Breece Hall is somebody, make the choice, but between now and Sunday, I'd go and get him before his value gets higher. He's somebody I was completely out on. If you watched last week, dude was awesome. So I would highly suggest trying to go and get Breece Hall. I think he's going to freaking dominate on Sunday. And then, Keon Coleman. I'm not chasing the points. I just think it makes a lot of sense, especially if Cook isn't 100%. Josh Allen's going to be throwing the ball. I think that the Jets put up enough points to keep them accountable. I think they're going to need Keon Coleman, and he's my favorite Bills wide receiver moving forward. Next game. So Buffalo 6.5. No, Jets are going to cover that for sure, and it's going to go over in a shootout. Oh my gosh, San Francisco at New Orleans. All right, here's the line. San Francisco -3, over under 40.5. I guess I'll take San Francisco to win by 3. I'll definitely take the under. Listen, guys, San Francisco, I don't know how this is even something, okay? You're missing your quarterback's going to be out now for probably 4 weeks. George Kittle, your tight end, out at least 4 weeks. McCaffrey is in bubble wrap. And please take my advice on this. You can play McCaffrey this week if you have him. If he stayed, or you take the risk, I would sell him now. I just did. Here's my last trade, the only trade that I did this week. But and hopefully in the amount of leagues that I'm in, I'll be able to share my most recent trade with you every week. In a dynasty, uh, I'm in a dynasty league, and it's a dynasty guillotine league, which guys again stick with me if you want to diversify. There are so many other outlets when it comes to fantasy, so many different platforms and fun ways to play. Stick with me in the off season. I'll tell you all about them, so next season you can try a bunch of cool different ways. But dynasty guillotine, and it ends in 2027, and I traded away Christian McCaffrey, Rome Odunze, and Noah Fant. Now, granted, it's a tight end premium, 2.0 per catch, but I traded those three guys away for Chase Brown, who you guys know, he's my fantasy MVP, and Rashee Rice, who comes back in 6 weeks. Not in on I wanted out on the McCaffrey thing while he was still healthy, but he gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't listen. If he makes it unscathed in this game, sell him. And the same thing with Kamara. Guys, Kamara's the same deal as kind of what I talked about with Neighbors. Kamara is a star, but New Orleans has nothing to play for. I have him on like one of my biggest teams, and I have to ride it out, but I don't want him. And it's nothing to do with him. He's still great, but there's just nothing to play for on New Orleans. They might have the number 1 overall pick this next year. They're just not good. They don't have nearly the roster to be competitive in these games, and therefore I'm not in on Kamara. So if you have him, he could do pretty well this week. San Francisco's pretty banged up. I would get out. As far as San Francisco, guys, look, I know that you guys out there in the Bay, you love your health and your yoga and all that, but listen, man, I don't know what's going on with these injuries, but you dudes might want to think about putting down the old vegan protein shakes, swap out the avocados for some good old meat and potatoes, and get back to business. Matter of fact, next time you're in Detroit, you're coming to my mom's for a Sunday roast. That'll definitely sort you out. Okay, listen. San Francisco side of the ball, it's going to be Mac Jones. I think you can still play Pearsall. He's one of the better backup QBs in football, and he's in a great system with Shanahan. I like both tight ends in this game. I like Juwan Johnson for New Orleans. He's a great streamer. I like that guy Tongs for San Francisco, filling in for Kittle while he's out. I like both of those guys. Another guy I want to sell is the same thing as Chris Olave. He had 13 targets last week, and he stayed healthy. But even in the game, the guy went out with like a chest injury or something. Sell Olave. You don't want Olave, I promise. If you have to use him, he might get some volume this week, but I don't know. So I would get out of that. Next game. This is crazy, okay? Miami at home to New England, and Miami coming off of that disaster last week. Are you kidding me? They're favored by 1. Give me New England to take that. And I get it. Tua, apparently he's 7-0 whenever he's been on the field against New England in his past, but he hasn't played against this exact roster. I've been pounding the table for this. I expect New England to get things together, and it could start as early as this week in Miami, who put such a lackluster effort. I cannot believe Vegas, I don't care who it is, I cannot believe Vegas is giving them the favorite to win. I can't do it. If you watch that game, I can't do it. I can't go with Miami. Give me New England. Give me Drake May in a bounce back spot. And here's the best bit of advice I could give you. 2 bits of advice I could give you for this game. There is not a player in fantasy football that I want to buy low on more right now than Trevion Henderson, rookie running back for New England. And honestly, I'd buy low on all these rookie running backs. I'd buy low on Jonty, 2 yards a carry last week, and he was the top 6 overall pick in the draft. Things will get better for him. Hampton played against Kansas City. Buy him. Kansas City, great run defense. The Chargers just ended up airing it out the whole time. Still won the game. Hampton's a buy low. RJ Harvey, buy low. But none more, I don't think, than from what you're getting. And hear me out on this. Because those other guys are going to be more expensive. Trevion Henderson, okay? Ohio State Buckeye, national champion, all right? This dude, in his college career, 664 career touches, never fumbled the ball once. Goes to a team, is drafted by new head coach Mike Vrabel, who is also an Ohio State alumni, which in football, there's that brotherhood and all that. Trust me, it means something. So that's going to be his guy. Ramondre Stevenson, who is currently ahead of him, had 7 fumbles last season. Listen, you're a running back. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you can't hold on to the ball, you're on the bench. Vrabel wasn't here when they signed Stevenson, okay? It is just a matter of time, not if, but when Stevenson has his first fumble and Henderson takes over that backfield. When you watched the game last week, yeah, Stevenson was getting the ball more, but you noticed such a huge difference when Trevion got the ball. It was night and day. And at least I had this feeling. I'm watching, I'm like, dude, it's just a matter of time. Buy low on Trevion Henderson. Do it before Sunday. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. I have high hopes for him, that connection with him in a PPR. And I'm telling you, it could start as early as this week in a game. What's the over-under? 43 probably hits the under, but who knows? Could go over. Miami. Now, here's the other bit of advice, too. Get out. Sell Devin Achane. This team's going nowhere. Sell him. If you want to wait and you want to watch him against New England, because he might have a big PPR day, by all means, that's fine. Take that risk. He's always an injury concern because he's a small guy, and the way that his style is. But I would sell him. You either use him, and again, he's another one. Oh, but I spent a late first, early second, or where I can't remember where he went because I didn't take him in any league. I didn't want any part of Miami. But he's 100% you could capitalize on and sell high on. I would do that all day. Right now, could you go and get a Jahmyr Gibbs with a Devon Achane based off of last week's performances and the possibility of him this week favored? Try. Trust me. Detroit's offense is going to clean it up. You want pieces on a good offense. I would try to do that, but I want out on the Achane business. He's another one, like the Neighbors deal. Team's going nowhere, guys. You don't want real expensive pieces on a team that's not doing anything, right? Because they're perfect shutdown candidates. And Achane is always, nicked up. And trust me, get out of there. Okay, so anyways, that's really all I have to say for that game. Next game, Arizona -6.5 at home against Carolina, over under 43.5. Give me the over. Give me Carolina to look better in this game and be competitive. I like so many pieces in this game. If I go 0 for 2 on calling this with Carolina, I go 0 for 2. And, but I just can't help remembering last season, Dave Canales, his second half with Bryce Young. Dave Canales was new head coach. He's a quarterback whisperer. He's the one that resurrected Baker Mayfield's career over in Tampa. You saw it with the second half after working with Bryce Young for a little while. Bryce Young looked great in the second half, okay? And he sucked. He sucked last week. I get it. Canales probably is like, what? But again, the game was a little weird. They had a 2-hour weather delay. There wasn't a rhythm really to get in. And I'm not making excuses. You're an NFL millionaire. You got to play better than that. But I'm just saying, a week, you're playing against Arizona, who doesn't scare anybody, right? You're in a dome. Things could bounce back. I like Bryce Young to bounce back. I like Chuba Hubbard as a potential start of the week. They got to get him going in the passing game, okay? I like Ted McMillan because I think this is going to hit the over, and I like Ted McMillan, rookie. I think if Bryce Young bounces back, he's clearing obviously his going to be his wide receiver one on that team. I love both Arizona running backs. Honestly, I'd make both of them a start of the week because I think Connor and Benson both get in the end zone. Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy that I'm out on, should have a good week. The only thing with him is if Carolina throws up a dud, and Arizona's run game, who we just saw ETN smash against last week, if they get it all done in the run game, and then that bodes well for Chuba on one side, so he's probably more of a start of the week for me than Marvin Harrison, because there is that chance that Marvin Harrison, it's not his fault. They don't really need him because they're just crushing him on the run game. But if Carolina can stay competitive in this game, Marvin Harrison, if you drafted him, it doesn't really get better than at home to Carolina. Look at that opening schedule. New Orleans and Carolina. So I was actually going to recommend Marvin Harrison as a sell high after this game, but I looked at Arizona's schedule. Dude, it's really weak. It's got to be the easiest schedule in football. It's crazy. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't go nuts with that. I think Marvin could have a good game, but here's the thing with Marvin, all right? Based on what value, blah, 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 blah. If you can get wide receiver one value for Marvin Harrison Jr., the weird thing about him is he's not even the number one receiving weapon on his own team. McBride is. And that's not hot takey or anything. He is. McBride's. So I'm looking at that and I'm going, on one hand, I'm looking at this schedule and I'm like, he might be juicy moving forward, but at the same time, I'm going, I would be interested, especially if he smashes against Carolina. I'd be interested to see, because no matter how good the schedule he has moving forward, it doesn't get better than New Orleans and Carolina. So just pay attention to that. Okay, a few more games here. Then I'm going to try to speed through this because the Thursday game is going to start in no time anyways. Denver at Indy. Denver -1.5, over under 42.5. I'm taking the under, and I'm taking Denver to cover. I think Bo Nix could get back in this game. I like RJ Harvey in this game. I think this could be a game where you start to see him more. Obviously, you're starting Sutton and feeling good about it. I like Taylor in this game. Now, Denver, I don't like any of the pass catching weapons on Indy, and definitely don't play Daniel Jones. I don't want to play quarterbacks unless it's one of the elite that you don't bench. I don't want to play him against Denver. That's all respect to that team. That team is crazy good on defense. So if you picked up Daniel Jones, let's say you drafted Brock Purdy and you're like, I picked up Jones because he's not going to play. Try to find a better option than Jones. There has to be something else out there. I wouldn't play Jones or the pass catchers other than maybe Tyler Warren, because security blanket, tight end, I'd probably play him, but that's it. Anyways, next game, Philly at KC, Super Bowl rematch. I'm going, so Philly -1.5, over under 47. I'm probably going to go under, and I probably take Philly to cover. Big bounce back potential for A.J. Brown in this game. Again, Kansas City has a great running game. Hurts is going to have to throw more. It's in Kansas City. Kansas City might put up some points. They're really banged up with their wide receiver weapons. So I know this sounds crazy, but I actually kind of like Hollywood Brown. That's not crazy. He got 16 targets last week. He's a sell high. If you need to use him, if you need real upside, you can play him this week. Then I'd probably sell high. Worthy's probably going to miss, but a sneaky deep, this could be a daily fantasy play, whatever. I kind of like Juju Smith-Schuster in this game in PPR. I think he's going to get, I don't know, I kind of like him. I know that sounds crazy. Obviously, you're going to play both quarterbacks. Saquon Barkley, obviously you're going to play him, but I wouldn't expect running back 1 overall finish from Barkley this week. Again, and that's respect to Kansas City's rush defense, and it's their home opener. You know that's a tough place to play. So, you know, you're never benching Barkley, but just throwing that out there. Okay, next game. That's the Sunday night game. Atlanta at Minnesota. Atlanta's banged up. I don't know if London's going to play. I don't know if Mooney's going to play. So right now, currently, Minnesota minus 3.5. The over-under is 44.5. And because of those concerns with the wide receiver weapons, because even if those guys do make it to play on Sunday night, they're not going to be 100% at all. So, you know, Penix in Minnesota in that tough environment, under the pressure with that solid defense, I definitely like Minnesota in this game. And I'm probably going to take the under of 44.5. Bijan, he's elite. You never even, I don't even have to mention. Nobody, I don't care if you're in a 2-team league, you don't bench Bijan. I love Jordan Mason. He's absolutely a start of the week for me. Love Jordan Mason in this game too, because I think that Atlanta could, just with Bijan and all that, could force a game script enough where Mason is going to be punching him on the goal, like, you know, scoring points and this and that. I think that I do. I love Mason in this game. Really, he's absolutely a start of the week. Obviously Jefferson, and then I kind of like JJ McCarthy again in this game. But there also is the concern that they just get it done in the running game, and Jordan Mason's a smash play in this game. Okay, so I would take Minnesota to cover, and I would take the under. Last two games, Monday night games. All right. Tampa Bay at Houston. Houston minus 2.5, over under 42.5. I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win this game, so definitely to cover. And I'm going to take the over. I think Nico is in for a big bounce back game, and I've expressed my concerns with that O-line for Houston, but here's the deal. Tampa Bay are so banged up on their front line. Crazy banged up. Vita Vea, I don't think is playing, which fortunately for Stroud, he's going to have more time. He's not going to be as much under pressure. I think Nico has a freaking monster game. Probably he might end up as the wide receiver 1 on the whole slate this week in this game, which means I think Tampa Bay's putting up points on the other end. Ibuka, obviously start of the week. He's probably a start of the week every week until Godwin comes back. Love Evans in this game. I like Stroud in this game. I like Baker in this game. I like Bucky Irving in this game. That's about it. And then the last game, which is crazy, and I know it's West Coast, but was there a petition in the offseason where, have you guys looked at this? I know it's a doubleheader, but the freaking Chargers at Raiders is at 10 o'clock at night Eastern time zone. That means I'm going to be up till 2 in the morning on a work night because I have to watch the game. 10 o'clock, man. That's crazy. But anyways, so I digress. Here we go. I didn't even write the I had, instead of writing down the over-unders and all that, I just wrote 10 p.m. But okay, Chargers at Vegas, both teams 1-0. I like both QBs. I like both rookie running backs. I told you, buy low on both of them. Hampton's, Jonty's crazy because it's going to get better, but even in the preseason, 2 yards a carry against New England, it's got to get better. Better not be this Boise State running back curse, because it's happened with these Boise State running backs, but he's so good. It's going to, buy low on Jonty. Don't think Bowers is going to play, so they are going to rely even more on Jonty. I like Keenan Allen in this game. I like Lab McConkey, but I like Keenan Allen in this game. And history with Keenan against the Raiders, when he used to be in this, he always used to shred them. He was great, 19 PPR points in week 1. I think Keenan Allen is possibly a start of the week. He's somebody you picked up off waivers or, was way on your bench in a dynasty league, you can play him for sure in a PPR format this week and feel good about it. Play him in cash. He's probably not that. He's way cheaper than Ladd McConkey. I'd play him to get the value there. Jacoby Myers on the other side, because I think the Chargers are going to put up points, and he's their best option receiving wise to do so on that end. And Michael Mayer, pick him up. You can play him in this game. I don't think Bowers is playing. So anyways, those are all the games. That's what I recommend. I hope you guys freaking kill it this week, and looking forward to to getting into some reviews on after the Sunday slate. All right, take care, guys.